We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani, and we're here on a Thursday morning doing things a little bit different because we're going into probably a much longer series. I didn't want to start on a Thursday. We're going to start on a Monday. So today is all about you. Whatever questions you have, we want you to ask them so that we can give you the answers that you need. So whether you're dating, in a committed courtship, engaged or married, whether you're separated or divorced, or you're flirting with the idea of divorce, we want you to take advantage of this time. If you don't have a question, tap out, because that's what this is all about. If you do have a question, get it in. As you know, when we do Q&A, there's only so much time we take to wait around for the question. We want to be able to meet you where you're at. So listen, you may want to share this. You may want to get this out to as many people as possible, because there's people in relational conflict right now that are looking for an answer, and you can serve them in a tremendous way. So share this video as we speak. All right, guys, let me just give you a couple quick announcements. Unearthed starts on Wednesday, next Wednesday, and she's almost at capacity. There's just literally a couple slots left. You may want to consider that if that's what you've been thinking about, because she will cap it off at a certain amount, and I think she's like right on the cusp. So if you've been kind of vacillating back and forth as to whether you want to do that, feel free to do that. Foundry is now officially closed. There's no more space. So anyone who's interested in Foundry will have to wait for the new session to open up, and that'll be in quite a few weeks, okay? Also, last chance weekend, what we're gonna do, we're gonna play this this promo video and give you time to get your questions in here. April 8th through the 10th, of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That is the next last chance weekend. We already have people registering, but you know, we have room for you as well. So take a look at this and we'll be right back, guys. Doesn't that look like something you want to be a part of? If so, reach out to us. Just set up a discovery call. Go to the couplesacademy.org website and we can do a 15-minute discovery call. And let me just keep in mind, the discovery call is not a counseling session, okay? People who want free advice, that's what this show is for. There's an opportunity for you to ask your question live on the air. That's exactly why we do this. It is not a session. It is to discover how we can be of service to you. It's for us to kind of unpack your situation and figure out what may be the best fit for you, okay? So we want to encourage you to do that. All right, we got a couple questions. I only see one, but we'll see what happens here. Devlin, how many times do you give the betrayer chances when he goes back to his old ways? That's a very, very, very good question. My question for you would be, when you say his old ways, what specifically are you referring to? Because oftentimes what we have found is that you have some people who go back to the same bad behavior of engaging in affairs, okay? And then you have other people who are no longer engaging in affairs, but there are behaviors that they were involved in while they were in the affair that they're going back to. So for instance, they went back to drinking, or they went back to distancing themselves, or shutting me out, right? So I would need more clarity with that, but let's go in both directions. You know, if they're continuing to cheat, right, now we have to have another conversation, right? So at the end of the day, my question would be, have you gone through a comprehensive process the first time after the first affair? Have you gone to counseling? Has there been accountability? Was there a support group? What process did you go through, or did you do it on your own? If you've gone through a process and they still continue to do that, I would recommend an excellent book. We've shared this before. It's called Tough Love by Lou Dobson? Lou Dobson? But it's called Tough Love, and it gives you strategy in terms of how you need to show up when your partner continues to do the wrong thing. If they're going back to old behaviors that are not an affair, this is what we say all the time. Going to counseling or going to a coach or joining a support group or doing some type of program should not be a one-time event. It should be something that you do regularly. You know, we share this all the time. Every single year, Danielle and I are looking to find a new coach in a different area of our lives, because we know that if we don't have accountability, then eventually we may slip back into old patterns and behaviors that have kept us trapped in the reality that we were once in, where you never get to the point where I got it now, I'm good now. There's always something else to work on, work through, overcome. And the reality is, when you have a support system, that is when you're showing up at your best. But when you don't have the support system, when you're no longer reading, when you're no longer being held accountable, when there's no systematic process that you're going through, all of us have a tendency to slowly but surely slip into patterns that are beneath us. So there's got to be an ongoing process. And so my question would be back to you, are you engaged in any process that would be helpful, or is he engaged in any process that would be helpful for his ongoing continual transformation? Here's a great question that we have from Instagram. In separation, how do you protect the children from a parent's issues? That's a phenomenal question. We always talk about the importance of protecting your children from your marriage. And so here's the reality, guys. Your children should not have an earshot to your conversation. Your children should not have a front row seat to the conversations, the challenges, the arguments, the struggles that you're having. You're poisoning your children. You're poisoning your children. If you're separated or divorced and you are that parent that always wants to speak negative about the other parent to the children, you are poisoning your children. And you think you're getting them on your side, and a child is confused. They love both parents, and now you're forcing them to make a choice. And you're robbing them of an innocence. You're robbing them of their childhood. You're forcing them into what we call developmental lag, where they don't have the same privileges as any other child who's carefree with no worries. You're putting so much pressure and so many issues on them that they aren't able to deal with, and it has a long-term impact on their life when they become adults. So I would encourage you, whatever you do, be very careful, be very selective when you handle the business of how you co-parent and deal with those children. When you're talking about finances, when you're talking about scheduling, when you're talking about, issues concerning the children, do it behind closed doors. Do it at certain times when you know that they're nowhere in sight. This is why, Danielle and I, oftentimes when we're talking about serious issues, we will try our best to do a drink and drive, where we get in the car, drive, go to a Starbucks and get a drink, and we handle issues out there. We go for a walk and talk where we're no longer in proximity of the children. And so that would be my number one recommendation for you. All right, we got more questions. Okay, here's another question. How to rebuild the connection with my husband? I guess that's the question. Well, one step at a time. What I would do is I would really reverse engineer and talk about or find out and discover what led to the disconnect in the first place. Was it lack of time? A lot of times we have couples who work different shifts. There's no time. Or they work a normal shift. When they come home, they kind of drift off into their own worlds. They're living in two separate spaces in the household, and they never come together and connect. There's something called the 4 rituals of connection. You want to write this down. The 4 rituals of connection. Number 1, work. Okay, number 2, play. Number 3, talk. Number 4, pray. So work, play, talk, pray. Working with means working alongside your partner, right? So I see that she's cooking. Let me work alongside her and prep the table. Okay, I see he's washing dishes. Let me work alongside and, dry them and put them away. It doesn't require conversation. It's just coming alongside, weekends, right? When there's a bigger project. I see him working in the garden. Let me come alongside and give him a drink and, get a chair and play some soft music and while he does what he does. Like coming alongside doesn't require a lot of conversation, but your presence is enough. It's very connecting. Work. Play. What does that mean? Date nights, recreational companionship, finding fun things to do, and connecting in that way. Talk, having conversations. At the end of the night, you want to debrief. How was your day? What was going on? What'd you do today? I haven't seen you all day. You've been busy. Let me share what's going on in my world, right? That is connecting, right? And then pray. Do you pray? Right now in our Moving Forward program, we are in a 30-day prayer challenge where couples are coming together to pray. These are things that many people typically don't do. They'll pray at church. They'll pray individually by themselves. But there's a level of spiritual intimacy that happens when you pray with and for your spouse. So hopefully that helps to give you some clarity. Here's another question. I'm sorry, guys, I'm scrolling down to go through these. I'm reading these in real time, okay? 2-year relationship with ex-girlfriend. She has a 6-year-old with the ex-husband. We broke up due to infidelity on both sides. She applied for a restraining order. Judge dropped on no basis. Should I try to contact her now after 3 months of no contact? We had a history of breakups or give up. I'm assuming the restraining order is against you, okay? So that speaks to some relational issues. So should you reach back out? Well, are you ready to reach back out? Are you the same person you were when the restraining order took place? What was the reason? Were you physically abusive? Were you verbally abusive? Was she in fear for her life? How are you different today? Have you gone through any type of personal transformation, aha moment? Have you proven yourself to be worthy to reconnect with her? Is she enabled? You don't know. It's been 3 months. You don't know where she is, but I'm really concerned about you. Why do you want to reach back out? Do you want to sign up for more of the same that you've had that led to the restraining order? Like, these are the things that you need to really think through. We talk about this all the time. There are 3 relationships that we have. The relationship with God, vertical. The relationship with self, internal. The relationship with others, horizontal. Oftentimes we're so focused on these horizontal relationships, we don't take the time to develop and master the internal or the vertical one. And it is only from that place, when you get to a better place within yourself, should you put yourself in a position to consider reconnecting with someone else. So these are questions I think would be good to ask yourself. In the meantime, guys, we appreciate you. These questions are coming in. What we're going to do is go to a quick break. So post them, get them in. We'll be right back in just a second. You're watching the Couples Academy show.
To the wives struggling to move forward, I know that you're hurt, filled with doubt, fear, anger, and resentment. I know you're trying to be your best self throughout this recovery process, all while still having to be mom, daughter, sister, friend, and so much more. I know it feels impossible to be there for everyone else when at times your journey feels so isolated and alone. I know that more than once a day, you scream on the inside, I can't take this anymore. I know there are days when you feel like you want to give up and run away. I know you spend too much time sitting in your car parked in the driveway, to get your head right so that you can keep moving. I know this feels like a lot of work with no guarantees. And I know you wonder, what happened to me? Who am I? And why am I here? More than you'd like to admit. I know all of this because I once felt the way you do too. It may not be evident by looking around, because we all wear our masks, but you're not the only one who feels like you'll never get back to you. That's why I've launched Unearthed. Unearthed is a 12-week group coaching program focused on discovering the woman within. Just as the earth hides all kinds of precious stones waiting to be found, buried within every woman are the seeds of wisdom, strength, purpose, and passion waiting to be brought to the light. Unearthed will take you through a spiritual, emotional, and physical excavation process that will reveal to you who God designed you to be and guide you through a process to embrace and activate your true identity. When you complete this journey, you'll have a new focus aligned with your core values so that you can begin to feel your life again and discover that your gifts aren't buried, but planted and waiting to be unearthed. Register today.
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're answering your questions today. I'm reading in the comments. There's a lot of comments. They're not really questions, so I'm not going to read them because they're points that are being made, or maybe you're engaging with one another, which can actually be a very good thing. We encourage that. So crosstalk is a good thing, and I love the fact that you all are supporting each other. But if it's not a question, I don't even know how to address it. So I'm going to go to what is a question. How do you communicate with your spouse when they never see your point of view and it becomes a disagreement? That's a very good question. So oftentimes couples engage in this tit for tat thing, like I'm going to respond to your point with my own point. And so we never take the time to really address our partner's point. We actually, I can't even get 30 seconds on my position before you switch the topic or switch to your perspective, and I feel shut out and robbed of my voice. And so there's got to be ground rules, guys. Like at the end of the day, your conversation is going to continue to go south if you don't put rules of engagement in place. One of the rules of engagement could be whoever initiates the conversation about a particular issue, the only thing that you deal with is that particular issue, and you strip that thing down and you spend time in that without countering with another issue or countering with your own perspective on the issue. It's okay to have your own perspective, but let's spend some time in your partner's perspective first before we go to ours. And so oftentimes what it requires is that we have to suspend our agenda. We come in with an agenda, we come in with talking points, we come in having to be right, we come in with the attitude of I'm trying to win. And so it becomes a very back and forth, like competitive, who's gonna win in this power struggle dynamic. And then we wonder why our conversations don't work well. They don't work well because we don't show up well. And so, listen, Danielle and I did a 5-hour masterclass called Not Just Words. And we talk about how to have breakthrough communication. And Danielle, obviously being an Enneagram specialist, talks about how we all look through a different lens. There's a different filter that we're looking through. And if I'm communicating through my lens and you're communicating through yours, and we stay stuck in that and don't take the time to look at it from our partner's perspective, it's not going to go well. And so this is one of the biggest challenges that we have in relationships, and it requires that we spend the most amount of time doing what's necessary to be able to create space, a healthy space to give our partners voice, and then to talk about how to resolve conflict. That's another thing. See, a lot of us know how to talk, and we know how to talk about the problem, but we don't know how to resolve the problem. And so you don't have the skills. And so when we try to say, listen, do this to get the skills, we'll figure it out. Okay, good luck, good luck. I know that communication, I don't care how long you've been married, I don't care how great your relationship is, there's something that you can continue to work on, right? And a lot of your communication style is drenched, soaked, and saturated in your personality. And so as I become a better version of me, it will impact the way in which I communicate. I'm going to read this in real time. I hope it's a question. How do I deal with an affair baby when my husband has started to contact the affair partner and it's not just about the baby? Yeah, major problem. Let me see if this continues. She sent me a screenshot, and now that there's proof of what he's doing. He's not going to have anything to do with her anymore. Then it goes on. I think that's it. Okay, so major problem, guys. If there is an affair and a child is born from that affair, there should be no private interactions that the spouse has with the affair partner. Those days are over. It will always be a trigger. Listen, so one of the things that we recommend is that if there needs to be communication, it needs to be done through a group chat. Okay, why does it have to have why do you have to get on the phone, right? Because what are we talking about other than what's pertaining to the child? Does it require a long back and forth conversation? Okay, well, if it does, guess what? Let's have a group WhatsApp. Let's have a group Marco Polo. It's got to be group because there's got to be transparency. I could care less what the mother of the child or the father of the child thinks. Why does your husband have to be a part of all of these conversations? It's our child. Well, we're one. And so that's how we roll. That's what got us in trouble in the first place. Independent thinking, independent behaviors, doing things in secret, being clandestine. Those days are over because this right here, me and my spouse, this is forever. Right? And so we are going to approach the child in this manner. There are no independent decisions that we are making together that my spouse is not included in. But it seems like it's more than just conversation about the child. It seems as though that may be the scapegoat for them to continue to talk. Violation, continual betrayal. It is a problem. And so this is why we say, you need help, you need accountability, because as right as you may be that he shouldn't be doing it, maybe he's not receptive to you. Maybe he doesn't hear it, maybe he doesn't get it, maybe he doesn't understand it. Sometimes it takes hearing the right thing, the same thing from somebody else, from the right person, for it to sink in. Unfortunately, that was the situation with me. She had been complaining about all these different things. I'm like, whatever, tune in the deaf ear. But when I hear somebody else say it, ding, 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 ding. And unfortunately, many people function that way. We have counseling sessions where people get upset. Like, I'm giving all this instruction, and they're like chiming in, they're like, you right, yep, we gonna do that. And the spouse is just like, oh, so it took some other man to tell you what I've been telling you all along. Now they salty and upset and mad. Something good is happening, but they're offended by the fact that their voice meant nothing in that relationship. But unfortunately, it's just like that sometimes. So listen, get the help. Reach out to us. We, because we deal with harder, stickier issues, we deal with this a lot. And there's a particular process that we have, when there is a child, whether that child is in the womb, whether that child is an infant, whether that child is a teenager, whether that child is in their 20s, it just doesn't matter. We've dealt in all stages of a child's life when the affair partner and the spouse have had a child. So reach out to us. We would love to help you. There's a few more questions, but before, now they're coming in. I'll go a little bit longer, guys. I'll go a little bit longer, but before we do that, I want to take the time. We're going to go into a quick break. So stay right tuned. I'm going to read through stay right tuned. That didn't sound right. Stay right there. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in just a second.
Couples Academy is expanding its team to meet the growing demand of people in need of help around the world. So if you're a trained, licensed, or certified expert in marriage enrichment, infidelity recovery, sex therapy, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, divorce mediation, financial coaching, or family therapy, contact us today.
I am Tiffany, and I'm from Colorado.
I'm Anthony, Tiffany's husband. We're from Colorado. And, for us, I think the biggest thing for me anyway was just going in on day one and with an idea in my head of who I was and looking at others a certain way. And I realized about halfway through of that a lot of the pain and suffering, I was actually the one that was facilitating a lot of that pain, and the reaction I was getting that I had a problem with actually was because I was the one that was starting it.
And I think on my end, I agreed coming here because I thought, it'll be a chance for him to fix himself and I'll get reaffirmed and everything will be easy on my end. I just have to sit back and let the apology roll in. Best case scenario. And the team here challenged everything that I brought to the team in the most healthy and productive way I could have ever imagined. And so going from the victim mentality to realizing that I play just as much of a part of my relationship as my husband does changed so much. And it sounds simple, but I think it flipped our lives to a totally different track.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily believe in therapy before, and it had never worked at all. And I wish that we would have done this the second month that we were dating. I wish with everything that it didn't take us this long to find this place, because so much of the teachings here could have saved us years and years of pain. Mm-hmm. And the difference here versus other places, other places you might go for an hour and unlock all sorts of pain and problems, and then you go home and you argue about those things, and there's no solution or help or guiding through while the pain is still there, and you just go week to week with that little bit. So here there was actually unlock the pain and then help getting through it immediately without having to go through months or weeks at a time of getting nowhere because each session was starting over.
Yeah. And I came from a background, I went to school in psychology. I've seen multiple therapists. I've tried to tout my own self-awareness around like a badge. And it's different here. The accountability is different here. They're not afraid to question what you are so confident in. They're not afraid to say, let's backtrack. Let's challenge that. And I think it unlocked a lot of growth in a very painful way, but a very productive way that I never would have been able to do in 30 minutes or an hour once a week for 5 years, which I've done. So I think that's the biggest difference, is immediately seeing that change and immediately being challenged by people that you can look up to and respect.
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. A couple questions before we end the show. Ralph says anxiety is high. How can I make sure if my wife and I, if we get counseling and they say we are trauma bonded and they tell us we should not be together and we want to be together? So I'm saying, when you want to go to counseling but you fear that this is going to happen, well, let me give you some advice. Before you choose a counselor, it's just like choosing a book to read. There's qualifications to the books that I read, and I was trained to do this. Question is, who do you listen to? You listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. So just because somebody writes a book on how to XYZ, I don't know their philosophy, their background, I don't know any of it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research on that person to determine whether they're qualified to be a voice that I listen to, because oftentimes we become what we read. And if it's in black and white, it must be true, it's gospel. Likewise, when you're choosing a counselor, it's gotta be the same way. Rather than just picking somebody up, this is who my network told me I'm qualified to work with, this is what I can afford. I scan through the website and I'm okay, well, I see they offer this and they offer that and they offer that. Well, I want to know, do they have any blogs? Do they have any articles? Do they have any videos? I want to get a sense of their beliefs, their philosophies, and hear from them. And then say, okay, I think this aligns with what we need. That's number one. Trauma bonding is a thing. Since you brought it up, you must know what it is. Do you qualify? Do you fit into the category of being trauma bonded? If you are, does that mean that there's no hope? that your connection can't be based upon something else? If you're bonded because of a trauma, does that mean that there's no transformation after trauma? We believe in post-betrayal transformation, post-trauma transformation. So if you want to individually transform, the both of you, collectively, individually, then your bond will be based upon something else. And so that's why you gotta be very careful who you choose and who you get advice from. Here's another question. My wife says I don't know how to take care of her heart when I feel I do everything possible to show I do. But it's also hard to consistently do when we are separated, and she said she wants to be friends and work on things, but she also always threatens to just be done and move on, and I feel like she tries to control. Yeah, I can understand. You're in a separated state. It's hard to show up the right way and know exactly what to do. What I'm gonna do, because we've reached 30 minutes, I'm gonna pick up with this question tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna do part 2 of Ask the Experts. Also, I see the other questions that are here. I'm gonna address these questions first, and we'll do one more day of the Q&A. Listen, guys, we love you, appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the AM. Deuces.